What you're about to hear will inspire, innovate, give you insight, and take you on the wings of leadership. This is why we call it the I3L. Inspiration, innovation, insight, and leadership. Get ready to embark on the journey to greatness with Kayode Okuta.
Welcome to I3L podcast. This podcast to make your leadership experience beautiful and your results exceptional. So when you listen to us and make us a part of your weekly stable, your experience as a leader, maybe you are a new leader or you are an old-time leader, your leadership experience become more beautiful and your leadership results more exceptional. Now, leadership has become a major requirement for the advancement of the interest of people, teams, organization, and society. One of the things that's come up is the fact that no society will remain the same, or every society will remain the same or in negative trajectory until an exceptional leader appears. Now, listen to all the times every time in which you could look back into history, mankind would always be on the same level in which they were in until an exceptional leader appears. Maybe the exceptional leader like Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi. They all appeared at certain times to end a season in the lives of the people. So I always tell people that a leader's appearance will change the trajectory of a people, organization, or a place. So when you talk about leadership, we're saying that leadership has transformed. Now, most of the things in which we have learned about leadership before has become obsolete. So how do we train new people to become better leaders? How do we ensure that people who have been old in leadership can also learn new things to ensure that their leadership is better? Now, I would say that the greatest cry in the world today is the cry of leadership, and this cry transcends nations, tribes, and cultures, all the way from Trump's America to Theresa May's Brexit in England, or China, or even Nigeria, or even South Africa. We're crying for leaders. We're crying for the arrival of exceptional leaders. Number two, we all get better by the presence of exceptional leaders and are diminished by their absence. We all get better, organizations get better, society gets better by the presence of exceptional leaders and are diminished by their absence. Number three, vision is not enough. Vision is not enough. Neither is passion enough. Trust is not enough. We're all crying for the exceptional leader that can achieve results. Now, a lot of times the people have vision, but they're not able to get results. In the 21st century, that's just not going to work. So vision is not enough, passion is not enough, even trust is not enough. We're crying for the arrival of exceptional leaders. Number four, we live in what is called a VUCA world. A VUCA world. VUCA means volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguity full world. So when this world in which we're living in is termed VUCA, we need to understand the kind of leaders that we need to raise. In times of certainty, managers are the requirement. In terms of certainty, we need managers. But in terms of uncertainty, the need for leaders arise. In terms of uncertainty, the need for leaders arise. But you know what? In times of VUCA, in times of volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguity-full world, what do we need? We need exceptional leaders. Leaders that are comfortable with complexity and ambiguity and are able to offer agile responses to themselves and to help the team and organization in which they lead. One of the things you will realize of late is that there have not been too many management books being chalked out. You know why? Because what the world is crying for now is leadership. Number five, everything rises and falls on leadership. Where the leader goes, the organization or society goes. Nigeria is a case study in our generation crying for leaders that can mold public opinion, end poverty, and transform potential. It's because you see, no matter what potential stay in an organization or in a people or in a team, that potential will remain potential and will never become result unless an exceptional leader appears. I mean, one of the recent things that happened as I was going to press about this topic was when you could see that Jose Mourinho was kicked off out of Manchester United, and all of a sudden, with the same people, same team, all of a sudden they're getting results. Why? Because somebody left. So it's the leader that will determine the state of the results of the organization. So where you want to change the results that a team is performing, the first person you actually have to alter is the leader. Now, the number 6 reason why we have to study this is because the goal for 21st century leadership is not mere survival, but thriving in a VUCA world. The goal in 21st century leadership is not mere survival, but thriving in a VUCA world. The presence of overwhelming challenges freezes most people, hence the need for exceptional leaders that can take intentional, deliberate, and strategic actions that can further team and organization or even societal goals. The presence of overwhelming challenges freezes most people, hence the need for exceptional leaders that can take intentional, deliberate, and strategic action that can further team, organization, and society goals. Truth is and must be spoken, our generation needs exceptional leaders to arise. Our generation needs exceptional leaders to arise. So in advancing leadership, we're thinking about how do we create leaders, how do we empower leaders, how do we ensure the strategic positioning of leaders that can ensure the success of our race and our God-given mandate to any organization. My understanding that in order to advance the cause of leadership, we need to make aspiring leaders and even leaders that have been in position of leadership for a long time aware of what the business of leadership is. And for me, I'm going to use 4 case studies to highlight the reason why leaders have to understand the business of leadership. Now, leadership must understand what business they are in so that they will be able to extract maximum value from their endeavors. Remember, one of the goals of this podcast is to make your leadership experience beautiful and your results exceptional. Now, so I'll look at 4 case studies. Let's look at those 4 case studies. And when we look at those 4 case studies, we will determine how you will not look at what the business of leadership is and ensure that we position you so that you can become a better leader. Number 1 case study is the failure of the railway industries in America that resulted in the popular marketing classic Marketing Myopia by Theodore Levitt, the Harvard Business School lawyer. Number 2 is the failure of Kodak, despite being the innovator of the digital camera. Number 3, the emergence of Coca-Cola as a great brand after asking these questions. And number 4, the success of Apple Corporation by being different. Now, so let's just study. Let's look at the first one, the railway industry. When Theodore Levitt was speaking, he said something. He said, if the railway industry had asked a simple question, what business they were in, they probably would have survived the onslaught of the changes in the transportation and business. If they had just told themselves that they were not in the railway business, but they were in the transportation business, then they probably would have survived. But they thought they were in the railway business, and hence they did not extract value from what could otherwise have been possible. Number 2, look at failure of Kodak. Despite the fact that Kodak was the innovator of the digital camera. Now, most times you would ask people, say, okay, be innovative. But I've also seen consistently that a lot of times people that innovate may not even extract value from their innovations. So you have to be careful how you innovate so that you can also extract value from it. Now, if Kodak had asked the question that what business they were in, they probably would have realized that they were not just in the photography business, which they thought they were in, but they were in the memory business. Now, if they were in the memory business, they probably would have positioned themselves by, look, when Instagram was just maybe like a $10 million company, probably spent $10 million, buy Instagram out, and probably become $1 billion success today. But they didn't do that. What they did was that they defined themselves by the fact that they were into the photography business, and despite the fact that, yes, they were the ones who founded the digital camera, they did not exploit or extract maximum value from there. And number 3, which I spoke about, was Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola asks a simple question: what business are we in? What business are we in? When Coca-Cola asked that simple question, they answered themselves by saying they were in the thirst business. Because they were in the thirst business, it was imperative to ask, if someone doesn't take Coca-Cola, what would they take to quench their thirst? Obviously, it was water. Coca-Cola entered into the water business. That's how companies think. So if you are going to be successful, you have to ask yourself, what business are we in? Now, the success of Apple Corporation too will ask themselves what business they are in. Now, every other company defined themselves by, maybe they were in the telecommunication business because they had beautiful computers, they had the MacBook, but they didn't see themselves as in the telecommunication business. They saw themselves as they were into lifestyle, and that ensured that they were able to do the iPod, they were able to do the iPad, and now they're into Apple TV. You understand? Because they just asked themselves, how can we be different by being a different company? So they went into lifestyle, and in order to ensure that people had good lifestyle, they began to think, instead of having 5 devices, how can people have just one device in their pocket? The iPod came. The iPod became a tool where you can play your music, you can do 1 or 2 other things. The iPad also became both the iPod and the phone. You understand? And things just started adding up to each other. So Apple was rewarded by becoming the first $1 trillion company in the world, because they also asked the question. So if business must ask themselves what business they are in, now leaders must also ask themselves what business they are in, because once leaders are able to do that, they're able to grow themselves and their capabilities. Leaders are able to exploit opportunities and reduce threats. They're able to create better value for themselves and the organizations that they lead. So in my summation, I'll be telling you 7 businesses in which leaders must manage and excel in, and once they understand it, they'll be able to grow themselves, they'll be able to exploit opportunities and reduce threats, and they'll be able to create better value for themselves and the organization that they lead. Number 1 is the business of people, the business of power, the business of productivity, the business of performance, the business of persuasion, the business of presentation, and the business of purpose. Understanding what business leadership is would enable leadership navigate uncharted, unfriendly, unpredictable, and uncertain waters, uncertain environment. Now, this is more than a roadmap, because in a roadmap, you can only give someone a map if the terrain is known and the terrain has been mapped out. But in this case, we're talking about a terrain that is not known, and that is the context in which organizations find themselves. Because the context in which they find themselves, the terrain is unfamiliar, it's unfriendly, it's unforgiving, it's unrelenting, and survival isn't good enough. Survival is just not good enough. They must thrive. And hence, how would you thrive? In a vocal world. Those are the reasons why one of the first things you must understand is you must understand what business leadership is in. So once you understand what business leadership is in, you will be able to grow yourself better and your capabilities. You'll be able to exploit opportunities and reduce threats to yourself and to your organization. And more importantly, you will create better value for yourself and the organization that you lead. So we'll be starting next week with the business of people, the first of the 7 series. And I believe that as you understand the business of people, you will become a better leader, managing and leading people. So that's what we'll be doing today. And I3L is ensuring that your leadership experience is beautiful and your results exceptional. Your leadership experience is beautiful and your results exceptional. So tune in onto us and make it a part of your weekly stable, and you'll become much better. One of the reasons why this podcast has become a necessity is that I found myself many years ago becoming a leader, leading a large student body, over 10,000 students, and I had never been a class captain before. It was extremely tough for me. And as I grew up learning those leadership things, I read lots of leadership books. I said, how would I become a better leader? One of the things in which I told myself, is that I'm going to ensure that whoever has leadership and roles or responsibilities entrusted to them will not need to go through what I went through, and they'll become better leaders and have better results, despite the fact that they probably never had leadership responsibilities before. So that's one of the main reasons why the i3L podcast was birthed, and hence I expect that you make it a part of your leadership stable. Call your friends, give it to your friends, let them learn, people that need to understand leadership, because that's where the 21st century is going. It's a question of leadership they're asking. So you will become a better leader and society will become better. So God bless you. Look forward to seeing you next week. Have a fantastic time.